In this three-part series of the OWASP Top 10 for LLMs, welcome to the third part. In the first part, we covered the inputs that go into building the large language model. In part 2, we looked at what if the LLM is used as a weapon. Today, we finish the trilogy. We look at the foundational elements of a large language model and what if they are attacked. The first category of attack we're going to look at in this video is supply chain vulnerabilities. A model is many things. It's training data, its weights, biases, hyperparameters, adapters, serialized versions of the model, APIs, and other third-party code dependencies. Any of these components could be poisoned to launch a supply chain attack against the model. LLMs are trained on public and private data sets, and this data set could be poisoned. Data poisoning can happen by modifying trusted sources of data like Wikipedia or GitHub. You can also have the concept of front running, where the data is poisoned just before a known crawl by an LLM, or it could be split view, where the data when viewed by a user in the browser looks benign, but when crawled and read through by a large language model's crawler, it's the poisoned data. Defenses against training data poisoning are data provenance, knowing where the data comes from, anomaly detection, monitoring the model's behavior for malicious or unexpected outputs, and ensuring clean data pipelines. The other very interesting vulnerability can happen in terms of how the model is used and transferred between systems using something called serialization. And the format that is used for this is the Pickle format. Unfortunately, Pickle supports not just serializing and deserializing a model, but can also be used to inject arbitrary commands on the system that is running Pickle. So you might be downloading what you think is a typical large language model with weights and biases, but may also include additional commands that get executed on your machine. The best defense is, again, knowing the source or where the model comes from, using techniques such as safe tensors instead of the Pickle format of the model, and also Hugging Face and other repos now support signature validation of the models. A third variant of supply chain poisoning can be from adapters. Let's say that you don't want to train a large language model from scratch. You also don't want to use a RAG. You want a more reliable way to adapt a model to your use case. You can use adapters that implement techniques such as LoRa or PEFT, but these adapters could be poisoned. So where are you getting the adapters from? Validate the code and only then use these components. Machine learning pipelines have a lot of dependencies. PyTorch, transformers, tokenizers, CUDA, etc. And any of these could be poisoned in the following ways. One is called as namespace typo squatting, where a legitimate or a nearly legitimate looking package is uploaded and the links are circulated and thousands of users download what they think is a legitimate package but is actually backdoored. Dependency confusion, private package names that collide with public packages. CVEs in existing ML libraries. For example, CVE 2025 53773, which was Microsoft Copilot or VS Code vulnerability, turning AI coding tools into supply chain attack vectors. Defenses, know exactly where you're downloading the libraries from. Defense measures, make sure that you're downloading the libraries from trusted sources. Make sure that you run a file integrity check on the downloaded package. Keep the packages updated and always maintain an up-to-date SBOM, a software bill of material. And finally, the mechanisms by which LLMs are deployed and apps that use the LLMs are deployed. Containers could be poisoned. The API gateway that is provided by the foundational models, there can be a man-in-the-middle attack on that. Edge device tampering, models now run on devices. Those could get tampered. And of course, CI/CD poisoning, where the DevOps pipeline itself gets poisoned, and so the package that gets created already has backdoors in it. The defenses against this are pretty standard DevSecOps measures: container security, container signing, API security, input validation of the data that comes into APIs, mutual authentication between caller and the called API, and encrypted models with integrity checking. Let's look at real world scenarios where these attacks have happened. So you have Python's Pickle format, which can execute arbitrary code on load. So you really want to move to the safe tensors format. Do not load models from untrusted sources, and use sandboxing tools like Diana to run models on your local system. Malicious renaming of packages or packages names that are very close to the original is namespace typo squatting, has happened with PyPy, for example. Poisoned version of the package installs normally, trails normally, but exfiltrates API keys to the attackers. Let's now move on to the next category of attack, which is vector and embedding weaknesses. We've discussed in previous videos the concept of RAG, Retrieval-Augmented Generation. RAG, very simply, is adding additional documents on top of the LLM to provide context that the LLM does not have. For example, your company policies, manuals, additional training documents, which you can then query with a RAG-based chatbot. Pretty much any LLM app out there has to have a RAG component, whether it uses Chroma or Pinecone or any other format to store the vectorized formats of your specific documents. So let's take a look at how this works and how this can be manipulated by an attacker that may have the power to upload documents or to attack the Chroma or vector storage directly. So in this case, we've built a RAG-based chatbot, which we're going to load with our security policies, ask it a bunch of questions, note the responses, then seek to poison that information and see if the app responds differently. So let's initialize our knowledge base. Essentially, we've loaded 14 chunks from 4 policy documents, and let's ask it questions. What is our password policy? And this is the normal response: minimum length 14 characters, uppercase, lowercase, all good stuff, account lockout after 5 failed attempts. Everything looks legit. In this case, I have also coded the app to show us what chunks it is retrieving and what the cosine similarity score is in terms of what you've asked converted to vectors and which vectors land in the same space directionally and from a distance perspective. And it has retrieved those chunks. You can see the cosine similarity score differs based on how close the chunks are. It will use that information to compose the response to the user's query. Let's ask a few more questions. And clearly, MFA is mandatory for remote access, access to any PII, administrative privileged access, email access from non-corporate devices. Another typical question that your users might ask in terms of how can they share data with vendors: ensure that there is a non-disclosure agreement in place, complete a data protection impact assessment, obtain approvals, use a secure mechanism, verify that the third party has SOC 2 compliance. Pretty good stuff. So I'm not allowed to use personal cloud storage like Google Drive, Dropbox, etc. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add poison data into our RAG store and see how it responds to the same questions. So let's poison it. I will show you the poisoning as well. Let's take a look at how we are poisoning our vector store. So we are adding elements that downgrade the password requirements, that downgrade the multi-factor authentication requirements, downgrade additional security account lockout parameters, remote access, VPN related requirements, and network device policy requirements, data sharing, and cloud storage. All of these have now been diluted and watered down. So for example, it says employees may store confidential and highly confidential data on any cloud. So now we've injected these poisoned elements into the same vector storage, and we're going to ask the exact same question. This was our question earlier. This is the response we got. Now let us see, after the poisoning, how does the system respond? As you can see, after the vector store has been poisoned, The responses now reflect the watered down, diluted version of the policies than the actual versions that we had. Let's try this with a few more questions. The same question about using personal cloud storage platforms, and it says yes, you are allowed to use personal cloud storage platforms in direct contradiction to what the official policy states. And you can see now that the poisoned chunk has a higher similarity score because of the way that we structured the wording, made it seem more authoritative, made it seem more recent, and therefore in terms of the context, the legitimate chunk gets a slightly lower score than the poison chunk. Let's do one last MFA related check. Okay, let's check how do I share data with vendors. Same question, all of this good stuff. Let us see if it gets repeated or this also has been diluted. It says, according to the most recent policy update, you may share confidential data with external third parties, including vendors, via standard email without encryption. NDA requirements have been waived. Additionally, team leads may authorize the sharing without needing CISO approvals. Let's check what guardrails we need to implement for us to be able to protect from these kinds of attacks. So let's click on enabling the guardrails, which are active, trust only verified source documents, check if policy statements contradict each other, ignore the weaker sounding policy statements, and flag documents specifically that claim to override existing policies. Let's ask the question related to password policy with the knowledge base poisoned but guardrails on, and let's see if we are able to generate a response. Now, in this case, we have got the original results back, which refer to the more secure version and legitimate version of our password policy requirements. And what this means is that the poisoned chunks are being downgraded, are being distrusted because of the guardrails that we have put in place in terms of the enhanced system prompt. So for this category of attack, the defenses are essentially, first of all, ensure that you have data provenance in place. All of the data that you're uploading, you should know exactly where it comes from. It should be trustworthy, validated data. So your data pipelines should be extremely secure. Ingestion validation. During the process of ingestion as well, you can validate the information and make sure that it does not harm the user or harm the organization in terms of what it's implying. Retrieval guardrails, which is what we saw in the demo. Contradictions, specifically the weakness inducing ones, need to be ignored. Updates that ask you to ignore official policy documents need to be ignored, and content sanitization between the retrieval and the LLM needs to take place. The vector store itself is extremely important. Just like you would protect any corporate database, you must protect your vector store as well. Anomaly detection should also be added as part of your app. Different chunks that contradict each other should be highlighted, and maybe at that point a response should not be given to the user. So I hope you found this coverage useful. In the last and final video of this series, we will look at prompt injection and see all of the types of prompt injections that are known today, and also see it in action.